Though it's not a school or a hospital or anything, I would like you folks to think about Riverbank State Park. It's a place which I live in Washington Heights in a rent-controlled building where there was one condo where there was nobody there anymore, and so I live there, and I can tell you that that state park is the only state park in Manhattan that's being closed. A young woman yesterday tells me that she went in for to renew her child's thing at the rink, and they say it's frozen. And so many hundreds and hundreds of black and Dominican children are serviced there, and they all know, I mean, we're going to start something, but I'm going to send you something. Eric will give you an email. Please put it on your list. It's the only one in Manhattan. So that's number one, and you're now free to leave. But another thing that I will say is that, the National Health Service, which is a very funny thing. I'm a citizen of India. I'm not American. The National Health Service also works in India. That's the funniest thing, except for the very, very rich who don't go there because they think that it's not going to work, and the very, very poor because they can't read or write. It works for me because I always get free medicine because I can look at the labels and I can see that, it's not past the sell-by date, and it doesn't have penicillin, I'm allergic to it. Free medicine all the way. But people don't know how to use it. And that's really, to an extent, the young woman's question there about will to socialism. I don't think that being a socialist is like coming out of the closet. Socialism is not a personal preference. I think it was an extremely intelligent question. Are you there still? The person who said, yes. It seems to me that we ought to take a reality check. It seems to me also that if we are really going to do anything, it's not just about winning local elections or presidential elections. I look at the word democratic there, and it seems to me that democracy is a very abstract thing. It's not just winning elections. And the reason why Obama is not having a good time is because socialists need to think about systems. And I'm profoundly interested in the paralysis of analysis. Because, to an extent, without analysis, you can't change the world. Remember that the United Pieces. So you say real change, it's really like the United States left pissing in the wind. And that's a male metaphor, because it's a male thing. It doesn't matter what kind of sex you're sitting on. So to an extent, therefore, you can call yourself family until you're blue in the face, because men and women are not just family either. So it does seem to me that if you are going to think about socialism, you're going to have to think about how, in a country where for the majority it's a negative word, and where the average American sees that the Soviet Union folded, the average American sees that China is in a competition for capitalism. The average American sees that the entire Balkans fell for cheap capitalism, and that the seduction of capitalism, which simply means choice of beans on supermarket shelves. How much did we hear that there were bread lines in the Soviet Union, as if free choice means Walmart? Now, the thing is that if you are going to confront this situation and you're going to seriously think, because you see, socialism in one country, which is what I was hearing. Does anybody know here what the last example is? There we go. The Third International. Socialism in one country. And the United States, history is larger than personal goodwill. You're a very small crowd. You're a very small crowd. You certainly ought to work for socialism, but it's not going to happen in terms of the old-fashioned way of just making things in the United States. No. I remember my very good friend Angela Davis, who was standing in the corridor last week in Berkeley when I was speaking, that good a friend. I respect her greatly. She said in 1970-something that she was amazed when she first went to Nairobi, because in 1975, the UN thing, because everybody was black. Remember that the problems in the United States are not international problems. Unless the United States realizes that it is something that they have to really think about the world in terms of socialism, it is not going to win anything, certainly not hearts and minds in the United States. It will be, and as I say, you need a reality check, because all you see since 1989 is that socialism failed, right? So even people of good faith, if I can find my talk, here's my talk, even people of good faith say, we're not going to go that road. Why? Because socialism can turn into totalitarianism. Why? Because when they succeed, because I expect you folks to succeed, you've got good strategy here. When you succeed, you have had no practice of freedom. You think in a very Christian way that suffering makes people pure, that there is no history, and it will remain exactly as it was when you were opposing. I have nothing but the experience of victory, huge national liberation. I come from, like I say, I'm an Indian. I come from the state of West Bengal. Second International Communist Party, the Communist Party of Mexico was formed there. I was given Capital Volume 1 when I was 15 years old by my mother's brother, who was member of the Legislative Assembly from the great undivided Communist Party of India. So all I've seen is victory, okay? Also Bangladesh, I was there at the time when Bangladesh came into being, very deeply involved. And I will quote one of my Bangladeshi feminist friends who put Shondarai, who put her work on hold, said, Didi, sister, we thought that once Bangladesh was established, all the problems would disappear. And look at me today, I was 71, and this is now 88. I still didn't get my high school graduation because the problems have proliferated. So therefore, in fact, after the first, I'm just giving these to you so you don't just think I'm a naysay. It's not just oppositional and self-interest. Self-interest is not a good idea for socialism. But at any rate, so to go back to South Africa, I gave the first T.B. Davey Memorial Lecture at the University of Cape Town after the lifting of apartheid. The year before, I was at the New Nations Conference invited by the ANC. At the speech, at the thing, and believe me, the crowd was not so sparse. On that occasion, I spoke as I'm speaking now. That is to say, the problem starts after victory. The problem starts after success. Be warned, otherwise, if you win, there is enough tradition that there's no way to socialism. You have won, and then you just go with your winning, and you know your strategy, and you don't know your theory, and you just sort of go forward, and what happens is state capitalism. That's what happens. You are not going to be unlike other people. What do you think? Americans are tarnished anyway. You folks are brought up in the superpower. So why do you think that only the other Americans are at fault? Be historical, be socialists. People who are produced within a certain context, as I say, history is larger than personal goodwill or self-interest for your own group that has suffered. That ain't socialism. So when I spoke to the people at the University of Cape Town, reminding them of these things, University of Cape Town, which was pretty much a black Oxbridge, right? Reminding them of these things. We are already doing teacher, literacy moves in the villages. And then about 20 years later, 20 years will it be? Yes. No. 15 years later. 15 years later, somebody says, was Gayarti Spivak prescient that she said this in 1990? No, I wasn't prescient. I just keep my eyes and ears open. I've just been a socialist for too long. There was no prescience there. Anybody could have said this. So, to an extent, therefore, my real title is not why socialism still, but how socialism still, a reality check. If you take socialism seriously and don't just think that it's something that relates to American elections and party politics in the United States. If you do so, that's fine too. I like people being concerned with local issues. That's fine too. I care about my local park. I care about St. Vincent's Hospital. But nonetheless, to confuse that with socialism is only because this country is such